trouble paying attention, controlling impulsive behaviors, and being overly active, all symptoms that so commonly get tested and bucketed into the diagnosis of ADHD. Having talked with hundreds of parents about this diagnosis and all the natural ways to help it, there's still a lot of confusion on if a child actually has ADHD, what are the causes, and how can we help them without medications. In this video, we're going to look at ADHD through a lens different than just a diagnosis, unpacking it to see the symptoms and then how the brain and nervous system influence these systems of the body that bring about the attention, focus, and impulse control struggles. Going back to a main root cause will help truly make sense of it and find answers to address the difficulties. This is for parents who are looking for medication, drug-free options. They may have heard from a teacher, a school administrator, or a counselor that medication is the only or the best option, but it's not congruent with their beliefs. Additionally, many dads, and sometimes moms too, attribute ADHD symptoms as genetic. I struggled with this, so my child struggles with it as well. This video is designed to look at ADHD through a different lens. ADHD isn't just a struggle in the brain, it's the nervous system input to the brain, and ADHD isn't just hyperactivity and can turn into a huge energy drain as we get older, especially later in elementary and teenage young adult years. So I want to tell you about some common symptoms that we see in the office and some common stories. So we have someone named Joey. He plays hockey and he can't sit still. He can't focus. His parents were pushed with medication from the school in 6th grade to help him focus in class. Now he's in high school, he's never been on meds, and he's a straight A student. We have so many stories of kids, even now in kindergarten, that are getting pushed ADHD medications because they can't sit still in class. And it's a much bigger deal than just them sitting still to see how is our nervous system functioning and processing information, and how can we help that better so that they don't need these medications just to sit still in class, so they're not disturbing the teacher. ADHD isn't just a busy, overwhelmed brain. The body can be overwhelming the brain too, causing the entire central nervous system to be in fight or flight mode. The question most parents have is, where does this stress from the body, our internal environment, come from? And the quick answer is from 4 key stressors that are often overlooked. High stress and high-risk pregnancy puts mom and baby into a sympathetic dominant state that shifts more of them into a fight or flight or protective state, and it stays that way unless something gets addressed. Birth interventions such as forceps, vacuum extraction, C-section, or even induction places a physical component of stress, most commonly in the upper neck and shoulders, which overwhelms neuromotor development. Fussy, colicky as an infant with reflux or constipation struggles that continue to overwhelm our autonomic nervous system. All of these things adding up. And then you get to frequent ear or respiratory infections before the age of 3, along with antibiotic use, further addressing stress onto the autonomic nervous system and the vagus nerve, and you get brain-gut connection. All of these things, again, are snowballing. So when the nervous system gets overtaxed and overwhelmed with these 4 stressors, the signals it sends to the brain are full-on protection, fight or flight response in every area of the brain. The cerebrum or the cerebellum, the motor centers, which cause kids to not be able to sit still. The midbrain or the limbic system, specifically the hippocampus, which affects focus and attention, and then prefrontal cortex regions that affect socialization, situational awareness, and the ability to self-calm and regulate. ADHD isn't just hyperactivity. An overwhelmed body and brain can cause brain fog, focus, and attention issues, and if not addressed, can be a huge energy drain for our kids, especially as they get older. This is actually quite common to see with ADHD, especially if they have struggled with all 4 causes above, to be more wound up and tired out instead of hyperactive. This happens for these main reasons. When the system is in sympathetic dominance for a long time, high energy, low sleep, constant stress, it eventually burns out, and demotivation, tiredness, and grumpiness sets in. Yes, genetics can influence these behaviors, but not nearly as much as we think. The nervous system, the vagus nerve, and developmental play a much greater role. In studies by Dr. Bruce Lipton, a PhD biologist who studies epigenetics, it is estimated that no more than 15% of our genetic code determines our outcomes. This means that 85% is up to us, influenced by our internal and our external environment. This is incredibly encouraging, meaning that even though dad may struggle with attention focus, it doesn't mean that their kids have to as well. It's also kind of priming it. So that might be what is their base, but that doesn't mean that the body has to act on those things. Let's put it all together. Kids struggling with ADHD most commonly have significantly imbalanced and dysfunctional nervous systems. This condition is known as dysautonomia, and the most common presentation of this is an overactive and excessive response within the sympathetic or that fight or flight gas pedal nervous system, and thus an underactive and understimulated parasympathetic brake pedal side of the brain and nervous system. Our work as pediatric chiropractors focuses on addressing the subluxation or the stress and the vagus nerve or that dysautonomic challenge directly, getting the sympathetic nervous system or that unstuck and in turn activating and stimulating the parasympathetic or that brake pedal side of the nervous system with each and every adjustment, helping the body use it better. While each individual adjustment is able to stimulate and activate the nervous system in a certain way, it really takes time and repetition to make long-lasting changes within the brain and autonomic nervous system. Most parents and caregivers begin to report positive changes in the first few weeks for younger children and over a matter of a few months for older children. And many others experience almost instantaneous change, just as we have seen in the office. The term for this change via time and repetition is neuroplasticity, and it's a natural and normal part of brain development in kids and also extremely important in the recovery from traumatic birth and brain injuries. We start first by taking an in-depth personalized case history on each child, and then the most exciting aspect of our work is that we can directly measure a child's subluxation patterns and dysautonomia via an incredible piece of technology called the Insight scans. You've probably seen some posts about it that we have. Look back at our Instagram and you can look all about the Insight scans. This is the most essential part in helping a child with ADHD find drug-free care options, as it allows us to narrow down to the foundational root cause elements discussed throughout this entire video. For more information, check out the link in our bio. Remember, there are medication-free options available. ADHD isn't genetically predetermined, and with it rooted in the nervous system, it can be changed long-term.